Hello, it's Ileana, and how lovely of you to join me in the Crafty Alcove for another crafty endeavour, where I'm on day 7 of Victoria Marie Facebook Group's challenge to do a layout using 7 pretty papers. So I've chosen this beautiful crackled paper by Tim Holts in conjunction with Coredinations. I've had that in my stash for quite some time, and I've decided to do a layout about and a lovely evening we all had in our neighbourhood. All our neighbours got together for some lanterns, and this was around the time of the solstice or thereabouts, where it was the darkest day, and we decided to celebrate and bring a bit of light into the whole neighbourhood with our lanterns, some of them homemade and some of them even dangling from above. Where we live we have some interesting kind of architecture, and so some of them were on the overarching bridges that lead to the roof gardens, just in case you wondered. So I don't have one of these marvellous crickets or silhouettes as so many of you wonderful crafters do. Don't be sorry for me, I keep spending all my pocket money on actual crafts, so it's my own fault that I can't save up for one of those. So instead I've had to go with the old traditional swan scalpel blade that I have had really for years, but I've obviously had to change the blade time to time to get a nice sharp cut. So I'm going along and making the word light, which will form the whole of my title, over to the right of my picture, and I kind of wanted to measure it just by a kind of eyeball effect really, not with a ruler, to get it to fit nicely in that edge as well as kind of height wise along the side of the photo. So obviously with writing in the mirror I've kind of made a bit of a strange G, but actually I quite like the quirky effect that my font has there, so I've gone with it on craft card, and I've made the candlelight out of the dot for the eye, as I kind of think you naturally would when you're making a layout like this. And I've had that brick wall Kanban paper stroke card, which is 300 GSM, so it's really a lovely thick card actually. But for the purposes of this layout it is a pretty paper, and right now I'm outlining all the letters with the black pen to emulate the kind of look of Christmas lights, as I did see done with the word love at the front of our church, and it was lit so beautifully with Christmas lights, so I'm going to go around those with gems. And the T is actually represented by the crucifix, which arguably is more Easter than Christmas, but for Christmas actually at our church they had wrapped the permanent fixture of the crucifix that's above the stage, which is massive and really high up, it towers up above everything, so it would have taken an incredibly long ladder and a lot of bravery for whoever wrapped that up in Christmas paper, and it looked really effective and stunning, so I thought I'd kind of copy that with some foil wrapping paper. In real life they had used stripes, but it doesn't matter because this is my layout and you wouldn't even know the reference unless I had told you. But I just thought that I'd try and give credit where credit's due, that these weren't really my original ideas, but of course I've never seen it done in scrapbooking, and to be honest it's a bit of a pain. I'm not sure that anyone ever will, but it was fun to do. I actually, for anyone who knows me, I love wrapping presents, really love it, and I really go to town with ribbons and whatever I can do, whatever awkward shapes I find as well. It doesn't matter, I love wrapping. But this was a pain. I didn't get this right. I suppose I've never wrapped a cross before, but you know, I think it looks actually pretty nice in the end, and I've tried to secure it down with all sorts of tape and glues and what have yous, and of course I've popped it up a little bit in the end. Have I done that yet? No, sorry, I think I'm losing track of what I'm doing. I'm just blabbering on, but I will be popping that up on some foam dimensional tape in just a while. And of course I go to great pains of wrapping some ribbon around it as well as in the original design, which isn't actually as easy as it looks, but I have created quite a sweet bow in the end, and you'll see that, although I'm going to cut through this just slightly because it was really fiddly. So I've used these ribbons, are actually cracker ribbons. They came off the outside of crackers. I really thought they were too good to chuck out, even though the crackers weren't all that expensive in the first place. I just thought, well, bonus, I got some ribbon to use as well. And of course that's why they're in lots of little bits. So here we go with the painstaking job of putting all my jewels down. Now I've just recently tidied my craft area, and I thought that I had pretty much used all the jewels in my stash from, was it last layout or very recently I used a lot of jewels. I think it was in the Get Me the Elf Out of Here layout, and actually I discovered that I have got thousands more left. I just didn't realise existed. So I've got lots more layouts ahead with jewels, folks. I hope you like them. And so I've gone round all the edge of that. And you know, I was disappointed with the effect. I thought it was just going to glow and look really light and shiny. And it looks quite flat. It's like the lights are off. So I'm not sure how I would remedy that in the future. Perhaps pop sequins behind each of the jewels or something to give the effect of it glowing. It really looked effective in real life, and I like it now, actually, having looking at the layout now a few weeks later after having actually designed it. I think it's really nice and twinkly. And you'll see at the end I've kind of tried to give moving shots around the pages rather than just pure stills, so that you get the effect of the lights twinkling, and I hope it's worked. So I'm just inking around the edges. Sometimes I choose to do that just to make them pop a little bit, and sometimes I don't. So, oh dear, what happened there? My camera needs to say sorry. Sorry everyone, I cut this out. Because as you can see, I've laid down all the papers, and you couldn't see what I put down. But don't worry, none of this is stuck down, and so as I come to lift it and glue it, I'm going to slow down all of that so you can see what I've laid down, and I can maybe talk you through it. That piece there you did see. A lot of them are from magazines, free paper packs. Well, in inverted commas free, obviously you pay for the magazine and you pay for the paper packs along with, but they're advertised as the free editions, and I had never got round to using these, and they have been around for a long time, so it's a lovely chance to do so. And I've just punched through the top of this particular paper with the music sheet on it to then kind of backlay some gold paper to make it twinkle a little bit extra just across the top. The sparkly ribbon I don't end up using, so I'll be whipping that off soon. But that did come from an older quirky kit, or maybe the most current one. I can't really remember. I'm all over the place with those at the moment. But where are we in terms of the rest of the stuff there? Those two tags at the top right, I will be using those, but not that big thing plonked at the top. The two tags also were cut out from the same paper pack as the music notes, in actual fact, and so I've kind of cut neatly around those to incorporate them. This flame, I've decided that a bit of twinkle would go well on that, and it's some glitter glue. I can't remember the brands now, but when I did it, it looked all a bit strange, so actually I've rubbed it back off just to make the glitter a kind of a background effect on that flame, and then I'll go over that again with a kind of a gold tube of like liquid pearls or something, perhaps it was, and I think that looks really stunning actually, if I do say so myself. Right, so reassembling the papers to stick that photo down proved to be a little bit tricky, but it's just as well it was, because this is the part where we will get to see the papers in their full glory before they're all covered up again. So yeah, it looks like I'm about to commit this down, and that doesn't happen nearly as easily as I'd hoped. And I fiddle around with the vellum piece there at the top is from Webster's Pages. I can't remember the collection, but I just bought that in a sale, so it's probably quite an old collection now, as well as the brown kind of bokeh effect paper that I've just put there as well. That's also Webster's Pages. Those hot air balloons. Now I'd really wanted to showcase those a little bit more, because they tie in a little bit with the lanterns that are dangling from the bridges, and I thought, you know, the floaty kind of effect would look really nice. Well, the vellum covers it, and you do get a hint of it through the vellum, and I've kept the vellum loose so you can always pick it up and look behind if you want to in future. But I'm going to really cover the whole effect of the balloons in a way that I possibly hadn't intended, but I think looks really pretty anyway. So whilst I definitely have used 7 pretty papers obviously beauty being in the eye of the beholder and everything, I think brick walls are pretty. Perhaps that's pushing the definition a little bit. Anyway, as I was saying, I have used the 7 plus actually some more, but they're not all in the equal prominence. That red that I've used to kind of underline the brick wall with, I've had for yonks in my stash, and that would have been from a shop called Bureau in London. I think they just operate online now, but they've got some kind of quirky unbranded items, or they certainly used to years gone by, and I really like that about them. And I've just decided to go with stitching across the layout. So as you can possibly pick up, on the top left corner I've stitched around there and down there with the vellum piece, forgetting I was going to cover that with a cross, virtually forgetting. So slightly wasted effort, and it was really difficult to stitch because I had already pre-glued all the papers at that point, and sewing machines and glue do not mix. Well, certainly not my cheap IKEA one anyway. It was really struggling to get through there, and my needles aren't that old. Anyway, so I decided to kind of rough up the edges as well as pop some of the corners up on clear square glue adhesive things, little, just you can see me doing that there, and roughing up the edges to make them all dog-eared and a bit more dimensional, which I think looks really lovely on this page. And I think I did mention I was going to be doing that with the cross, so that pops up a little bit more as well. Just there. So now I'm going to be working on the top right cluster. You briefly saw me already have those tags pulled out, but you didn't see this. This is a piece of packaging that came from a Christmas present one of our neighbours kindly gave my, well, it was for my husband. He opened that present, and it was a pear-shaped gold candle, really cute, and it had this tag on it which I whipped off, and I've cut it because I felt that it was just a bit too long to dangle up there, but I then actually quite liked the wording in gold foil, frankincense and myrrh scented candle, and I thought, although it's quite clearly packaging, I like the reference of the scented candle down there at the bottom against the lanterns, which all had fake candles in them actually. They didn't have real tea lights, they were just the battery operated ones. But there were some real lanterns dotted around here and there in safe places where the children couldn't get hurt. So that was just all part of the effect, though, that the children's lanterns just had the little... Now you may recognise those little punched out pieces from the notebook Fisker's punch, which I had left over from the Cat in the Hat layout just recently completed at that point. So I used those on this layout, which is what I'm finding I have to do these days, is once I've cut things off or they're just loose pieces, if I don't get them used, they go in kind of like a loose storage, and I just don't use them. But anyway, here we are, moving on to the very reason why I never can save up enough to buy a silhouette that I so desire, is because I'm a bit of a magpie when it comes to gold and shiny things, and those MME, I want to say enamel dots, they're metal dots, really caught my eye. So I've used a few of those sparingly on this page, just to give a bit of attention to the top tags on the right, as well as the bottom left frankincense and myrrh label. And if I'd had the foresight to use it in the middle of the candle before putting the liquid pearl paste round the flame, I might have made an easier job of the whole sticking it down. But actually I went ahead and did that first, popped it all up on little clear dimensionals, and then tried to lay the gold dot in the middle. Well, it works in the end. It was a success, I think. I really like that tag, the heart tag with the glitter underneath it. I thought it was a real quality item that I'm sure will end up in many people's bins over Christmas, but for me, I just couldn't throw it away. And just securing that with the tweezers. The gold pen, I can't remember the brand of that. I kind of experimented with a lot of gold pens in my time. It's one of those where you have to squish the nib down, and that's why I keep going back to my scratch card to get the flow. In fact, I'm using it more like a quill because I've obviously dolloped a big gold splodge there, so I'm using that to write basically lanterns at BedZed, and on the right there the date, which is Sunday the 28th of December. And those beautiful velvet stars and things, I've just scattered a couple across the page as well. I've had that in my Christmas cubby hole for probably several years, so it's nice to finally get it out. So here we are, moving to the stills and the not so stills. So I want to say thanks so much for watching. Feel free to rate and comment, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love to have you on board because I'll be back for more in the near future. Bye for now.